Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the great state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. It is the Monday edition of the Michael Dukes Show, and we are ready to rock and roll for you for this week. We've got there's so many things to talk about today. Big show today. In hour two, we're going to be joined by author Judith Eckert, who has written a book called The Pixel Pandemic. And she's going to be joining us here and talk with us about the problems with some technology. It's the digital, what she calls the digital pandemic. It's a neurological, emotional, and spiritual fallout from excessive screen time on developing minds. And for those of us who are, I still remember when I bought my first PC, right? In my first home computer. And yet today we've got, my doggone phone has got 10 times the power of my old home computer, if not more. And so kids are kind of being inundated by a lot of this technology. And it's a whole new deal. It's a whole new world. But there are some potential pitfalls in all that. And we're going to talk with Judith about that here in just a little bit. She's going to be joining us for hour two of the big radio show. So we'll talk with her in just a bit. Meanwhile, in hour one, we've got plenty of stuff to talk about, including all the things that happened around the world and everything else. I hope that you all had a fantastic Easter. And I did. It was amazing. And I want to talk a little bit about that this morning. For all you folks out there who have ascribed to Catholicism, you already have probably heard the news that Pope Francis, who was the first Latin American leader, the pontiff, has passed away. He died this morning, about 4 or 5 hours ago. Pope Francis passed away. He was 88 years old, and he was hospitalized back in February for a respiratory crisis. Apparently, he had a problem with lung disease since he was very, very young and had only had one lung to begin with. He'd had one removed when he was younger. And he did come out for Easter Sunday and blessed the crowd, did all his, did his thing, and then unfortunately passed away early this morning. So for all of you out there who are members of the church, I'm sorry for your loss. And I guess this is where we see the whole thing with the smoke and the visiting and I don't know, my whole view of this whole thing is skewed after watching a couple of the shows with my wife about the whole picking of the Pope. So it's going to be interesting to see. But Pope Francis now dead at 88 today is one of the big things. Some of the headlines that we're going to touch base on today is, of course, the governor's veto of the education bill, which was inevitable. If you've been paying attention to any of this, it was inevitable that this was going to happen. He's been talking about this for weeks, that if you passed a bill without any policy changes and had nothing, and yet it's almost like they're daring the it's almost like they were daring the governor to do it, right? Because the House made, I guess, at least made some kind of token effort to put some of the policy changes into the bill before they passed it over to the Senate. And then the Senate just stripped every piece of policy out of it and just made it a straight funding bill. And then passed it off to the governor. I dare you kind of thing. Now, we talked a little bit about this last week. Like, why would they do that? What is the point if they know that? The governor's already said, hey, I'm gonna veto it if you. And so they put it together and they throw it into it. What exactly were they thinking? Well, we've had a lot of thoughts here on the program, and we've told you a few of them. Mostly that this was a way to that this is kind of the long game, that they're already planning on moving on to 2026, and they want to be able to use this as kind of a political token to say, oh, hey, look, the governor, he just hates education. He hates it. And then try and pull where are they going to try and pull a veto override and then get everybody on the record as saying what they were, then they can go say, well, look, we voted for education and more. Maybe that's the full and total sum of it. I don't know. But the fact that they basically just stuck a finger in the governor's, or giving the middle finger, I guess, by doing that, by taking all the pieces and parts out, seems really difficult. Now, there was another suggestion as well, is one of the things that State Senator Rob Meyer had mentioned is that he seems to think that this is just their attempt to try and reset the playing board, that they want to reset the discussion and start fresh, that the $1,000 was way too high. And so they wanted to find a way to start reset the clock, so to speak, and do it without apparently injuring or making, somebody mad or whatever. And so this was a way to basically reset the clock and go from there, which is potentially possible, I guess. And the governor's already come out with another bill, and we'll find out what goes on from there as well. And then there's these big protests that are going on around the country and around the state. Did you see that? The big article in the ADN. Thousands gather. They said more than 3,000 people were in downtown Anchorage on Saturday to protest the federal policies under President Trump. And again, I'm still trying to figure out exactly which part they are trying to which part they're trying to protest. What exactly are they trying to, what exactly are they, what part do they have a problem with here? So this, because the signs make it unclear, right? Protect, what are the things? Hands off the Constitution, protect the freedom of speech, protect the freedom of religion, protect the right to keep and bear arms, prohibit against unreasonable, protect due process, protect the right to have a fair trial. And I'm like, what exactly is the president doing to prevent any of those things? Right? Take your greedy orange hands off my grandkids' education programs. How exactly is the president doing any? It just seems like it's outrage for outrage's sake at this point And of course, a lot of this has to do with everybody wants the money for their pet project. Whether I saw signs that mentioned autism, I saw signs that mentioned immigration and Social Security benefits and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, he's not taking away Social Security. They're finding fraud and problems with Social Security. Hopefully, this will give us free up more money in the long run. Anyway, I'm protest away. Do what you want to do. I just can't think of a worse way that I would love to spend my Saturday than to running around protesting and doing absolutely nothing to change the hearts and minds of. I can't imagine that there's, maybe a half a dozen people out there who ever had their hearts or minds changed by a mob of people for whatever reason, moving in one direction or another, doing something like this. But there was a group of folks out there, man. There was a mess of folks out there for like the second or third week in a row, where they're out there just doing their thing. Hey, do it. You do you. If you feel like that's, you want to cry from the heavens and that's how you want to do it, then feel free to jump in and do that. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Democratic Party here in the state of Alaska. They're having some issues. They're having some serious issues, so much so. Suzanne Downing over at Must Read Alaska wrote about this. They rebrand, and they're now going to discuss their political maneuvering in public at the White King dinner. Now, it's not referring to White King salmon, but apparently it's talking about the White King like a chessboard. They're talking about political strategy and maneuvering, and so there's some interesting components about that as well. So, and Governor Dunleavy flew to Taiwan, by the way, and apparently China's not happy. China's they're a bit upset about it. To which the governor basically said, "Meh, okay." So anyway, it's an interesting discussion, and lots of stuff that's happened over the weekend, and we're going to try and get into as much as we can here in hour one, and we will give us some thoughts and commentary on that as well. I just want to let you know that next Monday, I will not be here. I will be traveling again. I'll be traveling back from Fairbanks. So next Monday, I will be. I will not be on the air. We'll be having alternate programming across the state because I will be in the air apparently at that same time. So I'll be traveling on Monday. So next Monday we will a week from today. It will be alternate programming. And I know everybody complains, it throws my whole week off. I know. But man, it's so difficult to try and organize, to get back. And it used to be I could just hop in a car and drive, and 5 hours later I was there. If I had to leave town late on a Sunday, I would just drive straight home and then sleep a couple hours and get up and do the show the next morning. But now that I'm 12, 14 hours away by car, I just can't do that anymore. Just can't do that, unfortunately. So it is what it is. So next Monday I will be, I'll be off the air. We won't be off the air, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to tell you. You get the point. So that's our housekeeping for today. All right. We got to go. We will continue the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We're going to kick things off here in just a minute, talking a little bit about the governor's veto and what he has proposed. And we will return right after this.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show, because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, fine. How you guys doing this morning, man? How are you guys? How's life treating you? You feeling good? You feeling good? How was your holiday? Mine was, well, pretty fantastic. We're going to talk about it here in just a little bit, but it was pretty fantastic. I cannot complain at all about the rate of my rating my weekend. It was pretty darn good. Okay. Good morning. Hoi polloi. Good morning. Rick says, veto everything. Make them stay in Juneau for eternity. Oof. That reminds me of the old Samuel Clemens quote about he was only in fear when the legislature was in session. Kevin says that it's virtue signaling. That's why they passed that bill without, okay. Rick wants to know the protest. Who put that together? That's a good question. I don't know. I did see a little blurb. I think it was Decoy Voice this weekend. I was watching a little bit of YouTube, and where they've got pictures of buses of buses and buses and buses bringing people in. So how is this really is this really grassroots, or is it astroturfing, kind of thing? They're protesting whatever they read he did. Yeah. I like that, Brian. Like toddlers with full diapers, they're miserable but don't know why. Richie says it seems like most of them have no idea why they are there. It's like someone said, here's $100, go downtown, hold a sign for 4 hours, pretend to be angry, and if you stand out, you may get an extra $50. Fat Ray said, though, we shouldn't take these people too lightly. Their complaints are imagined, but their psychosis is real. Bill said, I went snow machining on Saturday, didn't see one protester. I did, however, see SWAT one mosquito. That's the thing. I mean, I don't know what it's all about there. I did see a little blurb about people asking reporters asking people at the protest what policies specifically that they were upset about. And of course, you can edit the video to look whatever you want, but when there's a bunch of people there that can't even articulate exactly why they're there other than I'm angry, that's weird. Good morning. Yep, gold jumped up again. Yeah, nobody cares about the protests. I know, right? Like, why would you? What? Interesting. Mosquitoes. Okay. All right. I'm all caught up. A friend posted that Trump opposed Christian values. Really? I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point to where they could just say anything. It's like you just say anything and it's all makes no sense. But there you go. All right. I did want to talk about my weekend too. I want to talk about. All right. Well, we'll figure it out here. All right. The standard answer is there are just so many things that I disagree with. I don't know where to start. Yeah. I'm just not buying it. I'm just not buying it. Some of this looks just genned up one way or the other. It just looks genned up. And you're not making any changes.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
I know I said I was going to talk about the governor's veto. But I do have to make a comment about Easter because, it's a great time for the family. I cooked a ham. We had a great meal, sat down and just enjoyed each other's company. And then we watched for the first time since it was released in the theaters. I don't think I've watched it since it was released in the theaters, but we watched The Passion of the Christ. And wow. Just wow. I had forgotten how moving and how emotional and quite honestly how heartbreaking that story is, the story of Christ and the flogging scene where the soldiers are I looked around and my kids were all tears in everybody's eyes watching this thing. My wife is sobbing quietly beside me watching this happen. And I'm just like, it's so powerful to see the story unfold. You can read it in the Bible, you can read it in the historical, texts and narratives and everything else, but to watch it is a whole nother thing. And my wife told me last night, apparently Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel, they're now making the resurrection story. Apparently they're doing the second part of the story, which ought to be super interesting to see based on that. But yeah, what an amazing it was had an amazing day. And to finish that off last night with watching The Passion was pretty humbling, I guess is the word that I was looking for. Pretty humbling to see that happen last night. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. So anyway, before I got into the whole thing with the rest of the politics and everything else, I just want to encourage you, if you haven't seen that movie in a long time, or if you haven't watched it, it is, it's brutal. It is like I said, you can read words on a page where they talk about the crown and the lashings and the everything else and the sticking him in the side with the spear and the whole deal. But it was pretty amazing to watch. Pretty amazing for just the impact of it. And a couple of my kids hadn't watched it because they were too young at the time, and it was pretty brutal. It is pretty amazing to see what he had to go through for just plain old you and me. That's some crazy stuff. So anyway, I wanted to put that out there. All right, what do we got here? The governor's veto of the education bill, which again should come as no surprise because this is exactly what he said he was going to do. Exactly. He said, and his quote was, what was the quote? This is a joke. This bill is a joke. And after they stripped out all the policy items and put forward what was a simple 2-line version that increased the base student allocation, by $1,000. Which originally that's what the bill had been, but they had said but the governor had said, and the minority had said, the Republicans, they had a policy, they had a wish to put policy changes in there, and I think rightfully so. I mean, you're spending hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars on children to supposedly educate them, and yet the results are just horrific. Not just lackluster, but absolutely abysmal. When you're coming in 51 out of 53 of all the reporting districts in the country, 53 different, reporting areas, all the states and the military and the DOD and the DC and everything else, there's 53, and we're coming in 51st out of 53, and yet we're in the top 3 or 4 in spending. And you got to say, well, look, this is obviously not a money problem. Although that's their new narrative. We're not failing, we're starving. And, there's got to be some policy changes to make that work. There's got to be some policy changes. And so it started out as a simple funding bill. They put in the policy changes, some of them, not all of them, that the governor had requested and that some of the minority had requested. And, then they passed it over to the Senate, who just promptly stripped everything back out of it, made it a simple 2-line bill, and passed it out and sent it to the governor. To which he said that he called it a joke. And again, whether it's virtue signaling, whether it's a fifth dimensional chess move that they're trying to make to make things happen for the 2026 election season or whatever, or whether they're just trying to reset the clock and get things back to it, get to restart the debate on the education thing. Maybe that's what it was all about. But the governor, he did what he said he was going to do. So he vetoed it. And while there was a little bit of hemming and hawing and jaw jacking about whether or not they were going to come out and veto it or hold a session, I don't think anything's going to happen because they know they don't have the votes. There's just no way to have the votes. So the governor decided to put his own thing on it. He put his own bill out, and he's like, I guess he's saying, let me show you how you do this. So he's now introduced, and I don't know if this has got a number yet. I don't think it has a number yet. But he laid out some of the things that he's putting forward in his new education bill, which did it actually come out? I'm looking at the story because this was on Thursday afternoon, and I don't think it came out. I don't know if he's actually dropped it or just given an outline of it. Anyway, governor's got a new bill. He is introducing a new education bill that has a $560 BSA increase instead of $1,000, which is lower than the $680 that they were talking about. But it also includes some other one-time funding, and is actually, or some other, not one-time funding, but targeted funding rather, that they say his new legislation is basically comparable to a $700 BSA increase. So some of the things that he's including in his bill is charter school reform, where they have a year-round application window. They've got faster appeal time, streamlined renewals, and protections for the charter schools against unjustified closures. They put in incentive grants, $21 million in performance-based funding to reward teachers whose students have their reading proficiency grow for students K through 6. Another $13.5 million adjustment to ensure that correspondence schools, homeschools, get more, get a little bit more money, because right now they're getting 90% of what the brick and mortar students are getting. And then having school choice protections, which basically allows for open enrollment, ensuring that you can enroll pretty much in any school in your district. And so those are the big hits on there, the big talking points on his bill. And we'll see. I already saw some of the commentary on this. I think I don't remember where I was. I think it was Facebook or something about, oh, the homeschoolers are taking money from the real schools and all. He wants to give more to the homeschoolers than the real schools. And I'm just thinking, real schools? You mean the ones that seem to be doing a better job and, people seem to be more satisfied with, and the fastest growing segment of the schooling population? That's the taking it from the real schools. Let's see. What else is there? If this is Governor Dunleavy says, this is a bill that if the legislature agreed on it, I'd sign tomorrow morning. I'll sign it Monday. I'll sign it Tuesday, because it will have policies in there. We support funding, but we're not going to support a very large, unbalanced, one-sided coin that is just funding when we have the opportunities to improve educational outcomes. Golly, I thought that was the whole point. I thought the whole point of this whole thing was to improve educational outcomes. Or is it really just about the money? Do they really care about the kids and the educational outcome, or is it just that their bottom lines are hurting, and so that's what they care about? Anyway, they have a joint session to vote on a veto override tentatively scheduled for tomorrow. But, I don't know if they're actually going to hold it, and if they do, then where does it go from there? Bryce Edgman's quoted in the Alaska Beacon as, when asked about whether or not they had the votes to override it, he said, "You simply never know. We have heard time and again this session from schools that are beyond their capabilities of any reserves that they had. Our public school system is in crisis, and it's something we need to focus on." Well, great. You know what? I think maybe you need to be looking at the schools and asking them the question of, hey, what'd you do with the last tranche of money we gave you? And the one before that? And, you guys are the ones that are responsible for your budgets. And I understand that you look to the state for a chunk of that, but you've known that this was going to be a problem. You knew that this was coming down, and yet you basically haven't, some districts have done better than others. Fairbanks has done a pretty good job. Matsu's done a pretty good job as far as cutting things back and closures and everything else. But you just can't keep coming back and say, well, it's not on us. You guys need to pony up. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see. And of course, the Alaska Beacon article then goes out and quotes the NEA and others. And, I'm just disappointed. We knew the governor was going to play politics with Alaska students' future, and it's disgraceful. This was Tom Claymire, the NEA president for the state of Alaska. We knew this governor was going to play politics. You guys were the ones that took all the provision. He knew. He said it. This was not politics. You were warned. This is what was going to happen. You had an opportunity. You could have left those policy things in the bill. You could have reduced it a little bit. Everybody's been signaling that they're okay with a $680 BSA increase and some policy changes. And you guys said, nope, not enough. Nope, not enough. It's just disgraceful. I urge every legislator to vote to override the governor's veto and do the right thing for the kids. Is it really for the kids, though, Tom? Is it really? Because I have a feeling this is not so much about the kids as it is about, your paycheck. That's what I get the feeling it's about. So we're going to see where it happens. Again, remember, we're still $500 million or so upside down for this next year with no answers as to where that money's going to come from. So, I mean, good luck with that. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. More when we return.
What is that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Duke Show. Radio.
Okay. What's going on, my friends? What are you all about here, huh? What are you all about? I'm sorry, I'm moving some stuff around here. What do I got going on? What do I got? Yeah, I'll do that right there. Okay. Sorry, I'm just moving some stuff around, my friends. So buttons. Sorry, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that I wanted to throw out there as well. Okay. I think we are all squared away. Oh, I'll do that one right there. Okay. Whew, man. Let me go back to the comments here to see what you guys are all talking about. The movie, Cindy said that movie was prolific and I've never cried so hard. It was so sad. The Passion of the Christ. Yeah. Ron says that movie, what makes that movie so powerful is you realize that Jesus went through all that for us, me, and you. Yeah. No, I agree. I exactly agree. That's exactly one of the things that it was, yeah. The governor did actually say that this was an NEA's dream, a big check for them, not for education, no accountability. He did mention something about it being a big payday for the NRA or for the NEA rather. Yeah, Kim, they should have taken the 680 and just should have done it. School choice is the path forward. Open enrollment, Kim is right. I apologize. Thank you, Kim. Open enrollment is statewide, not just within the district. It's not just within the school district. It's pretty much any place statewide. Let me see. You can listen to the Sean Ryan interview with Thomas Desarian on your drive to Fairbanks. I'm not driving to Fairbanks, but Thomas Desarian. Okay, I'll have to look at it. My wife has been watching Sean Ryan lately, and I've been catching bits and pieces of it. He's an interesting cat. Interesting cat for sure. Let's see. The Fairbanks North Star Borough School Board isn't really getting to the root of their problem. They do tell a good lie about it though. Yeah. Good morning, Julie. Good morning, Julie. She said she's up early. Okay, it's all good. Yeah, Dunleavy told them it was going to happen. Yeah, exactly. The Alaska legislature failed our state, gave away our oil, blew our savings, and are now in a nasty corner with national and global economy tanking. It's going to be nasty this summer. Well, I mean, it's going to be a reckoning. There's definitely going to be a reckoning. You can't keep, I mean, these economic policies that they've been running for years, they're just not going to, they just won't, not sustainable, I think is the answer that we were looking for. Not sustainable. It was I have some thoughts on this. I have some thoughts. Where's this other story that I was gonna? Oh yeah, I want to talk about this, and I don't care about that, and I don't care about that, and okay, I guess we'll talk about those two things. But yeah, we just don't care about that. Just don't care. Okay, well, let's continue ahead here. We've got I'm like the Russian dude from Rocky. Whenever the education system comes up, people crying over it. It's like, if he dies, he dies. Oh, that's some good stuff right there. All right, here we go. We're jumping back in the Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
Okay. So one final segment coming up in hour 2. We're going to be talking with Judith Eckert, who is the author of the book, The Pixel Pandemic. And we're going to dive into what she calls the digital pandemic, the neurological, emotional, and spiritual fallout from excessive screen times on developing minds. She says today's children are navigating a tech-driven world without a safety net, and it's leaving deep imprints on their ability to focus, regulate emotions, sleep, and connect meaningfully with others. I mean, we do have those problems. Is technology the root cause? I mean, I think there's some things to be said about that. I think there's some things to be said about the way we connect with people. But you know, we'll see. Anyway, we're going to talk with Judith Eckert in hour 2 of the big radio show here in just a few moments as we finish things up here on the program in hour 1. There was an article just to finish up and to summate some interesting things. Even some of the teachers are starting to ask questions. Lauren Maxwell over at KTUU, Alaska's news source, had an interview with a teacher who learned at the end of March that she was going to be displaced from her full-time art teaching position at one of the middle schools in Anchorage. Her name is Amanda Thompson. She was hired by the district 8 years ago, 2017. That was her first year at the school, and she was one of 3 elective teachers. That this week, apparently, one of 3 elective teachers who got word that they were going to be displaced. Now, she said that the experience was disheartening. When I first started to read this article, I thought, oh, it's going to be another sob story about how, and I don't mean to diminish the stories, but it's going to be another sob story about how we just didn't fun. But no, she had some other questions. She said the experience was not only disheartening, but it also raised questions about whether there is actually money in the budget for her position. She said, my question is, why is that money being used in the HR savings bucket and not being used for arts. Is this a programmatic decision? Does the Anchorage School District not want to support art teachers? Now, the district said that it had to make some tough decisions on staffing and program cuts as a result of the funding from last year, the flat funding, years of flat funding. I mean, again, the whole flat funding narrative falls so flat in and of itself, if you actually look at it, that it's crazy. And of course, the governor just vetoed the bill that we were just talking about. But she said she has concerns about why art programs seem to be on the chopping block first when money is tight. She said, I have kids that are getting Fs in all their other classes, but when they come into art class, they become alive and they are doing amazing things. So they may be failing in other. So why are they cutting, She said growing up as a student in the Anchorage School District, she was obviously there. She goes, she felt fine arts were appreciated. And she said, you always felt supported. There's no doubt why the arts mattered. And I feel like something is changing, that no matter how well my students do, it's very doubtful that ASD will truly support them. Well, no, because it's politically expedient for them to cut that program, because then people will cry, oh, we can't have the arts and the sports programs and everything else, because that's the first thing that they cut. So this is an interesting interview. I'll post this up in the chat room for anybody who wants to go out. It's got a little video piece with it as well. And you can see some of the things that she's talking about, but that's the thing. I'm sorry that you may or may not lose your job, but this lady is hitting it right on the head. Why are they cutting the arts first? And what exactly is going on? Where is the money? What caught my attention was, why is the money being used in the HR savings bucket and not being used for the arts? Where is the money actually coming from and going to? Right? It's a viable question. It's a valid question. You had millions of dollars. You had millions of dollars in COVID funds and everything else that you could have done with, and you could have set yourself up properly to weather the storm. But instead, you did the one thing that the federal government warned you not to do, which was spend one-time money on reoccurring costs, and you did it. Ow. Yeah. Ow. Sorry. Okay. That just, anyway, I caught that I caught that story, and I was like, wow, how are we doing it? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay. What was the last thing? Oh, yeah. The Democrats are finally, I mean, I don't know if they're just changing strategies, but they're in a bit of a slump right now. The Alaska Democratic Party, their fundraising is apparently pretty low. According to Must Read, Suzanne did some picking on this, and if you set aside contributions from the Democratic National Committee, which is the outside group, and just focus on individual contributions, they only received $22,000 in individual contributions during the first 2 months of the year, which is a pretty small amount for for the big national organization here in the state. And at a national level, Republicans raised an average of $994,000. On the Democratic side, vulnerable House Democrats raised an average of just $500,000. And so they're trying to turn this around, and they're holding what they're calling this Friday, they're holding what they're calling a White King dinner with Rep. Mary Peltola. White King, what is that? It doesn't apparently refer to the salmon, and it doesn't mean white privilege. I don't know, but She says most likely it refers to the coveted chess piece on the chessboard. And so the dinner's all about manipulating the political chessboard of 2026. And in fact, you could see the people who are invited to come down and speak at this dinner. It's going to be who is the let's see, the pollsters. Celinda Lakes is one of them. Lake Research Partners, and Kaelier is a paid consultant to Peltola's 2022 campaign as well. Sathik Kaelier from the New Way Forward and ADP chair Eric Croft and Mary Peltola and others. They're going to basically try and sketch out a way forward. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure out, and I guess good for them, because one of the things that we obviously haven't seen is a lot of self-analysis as to why they lost the election. Why did Peltola lose? Why did Kamala Harris lose? Why was there such a surge of approval for a president that people said had absolutely no chance? I mean, even in our own chat room, no chance that he's going to win. And yet he won overwhelmingly. And instead of analyzing what was the policies, what were the things that were said? Was there a tone? Was it a theme? Was it a policy, a specific policy? Instead of looking at all that, they just decide to get angry. So this is the first time that I'm actually seeing some actual, planning on this. And they actually outline this in the dinner. They're going to build a bench of candidates who are investing in improving the lives of Alaskans, support our regional parties, invest in year-round organizing efforts, spend time in every zip code, build a staff of volunteers that have the capacity and infrastructure and do all this other kind of stuff. So maybe a little bit of, this sounds more like kind of building the framework than actually analyzing what the policy was, but it's interesting. White King. It's a weird term, though. Why would it be the White King dinner? I mean, it's weird. All right, we got to go. Hour 2 dead ahead. Judith Eckert, our guest. Yeah, it's just weird. The White King dinner. I don't know what... in the picture doesn't even have like anything to do with a chessboard or anything. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe it's a known terminology amongst some of the folks out there, but it's kind of weird to me. Okay. Let me go over here and see what art class can't be cut. The kids won't get fed their daily allotment of crayons and will get hungry. Yeah, that Bradley, I think you got it right. That's actually horrible advertising. Why even put a color in front of the king? Maybe it should have just been called a checkmate meeting instead. Yeah, I guess. It's weird. I'm sure they considered Rainbow King as well. No idea how they managed to control themselves. Sounds racist to me. Says, Jalen says, is it a fish or white? White King is no, apparently not. It's interesting. Democrats, as usual, have no message. They're in factory default mode, which is fear-mongering. Trump bad. Republicans are taking away everything from all of us. They're stealing from all of us. Not to mention the doubling and tripling down on the very nonsense that contributed to the resounding beating they took in November. People are fed up with that stupidity. Again, no reading the room, no self-analysis about why. Why is this, why is this going on? And I think that's going to be the biggest danger. You know, the biggest danger is that they won't have any analysis as to why this thing is happening, because they haven't taken the time to look at it and listen and figure it out. So we'll see what happened. Oh, my wife was listening this morning, I think, and she hit me with a holy cow. Wow. My wife was, I think, probably listening when I was talking about watching The Passion. Mel Gibson posted yesterday, Jim Caviezel didn't just act, he suffered. During the scene where Christ tells Mary, woman, behold your son, who makes all things new. He dislocated his shoulder and bit through his tongue. Wow. That pain, the raw human suffering, made the moment real. Sometimes it's only going through deep suffering that true beauty and transformation can break through it. This wasn't just a film. This was a calling. Wow. Man, that's powerful. That's some powerful stuff right there. Okay. Harold's talking about the markets again. Before you lose your mind or run around like a chicken, fear-mongering and shouting like the sky is falling, let's actually look at the actual details about the cuts. I'm okay with taking the $125K a year from being paid to the guy or gal in the supply room that was hired to count paper clips. A little common sense would go a long ways. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay. I'm wondering what is going on here. Waiting for Judith to join us here in just a second. And we're going to, it's 8 a.m. It was 8 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, let me make sure. Just making sure that she's actually going to be here. Okay. I'll just send that email and we'll see what happens from there. Okay. We'll see what goes on from there. They're going to run on all the native ticket. They're going to try and run on an all native ticket from Peltola and Val Davidson, both from the Bethel Native Court for state leadership. Well, that would be interesting. I don't have a problem with art. Spoke to a teacher this past week, and obviously some teachers are brainwashed. Fairbanks Borough Mayor has proposed to dip into our savings by using $9.5 million of it for upcoming budget. Not a wise move at all. No, it's not. You should be very concerned when they start trying to dip down into the budget for that kind of money. All right. There we go. Well, we're going to waiting to see where my guest is. I'm going to jump back. We're going to come back to here in just a second. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That's just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the great state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the program. It is the Michael Dukes Show. Just another beautiful day in paradise here as we get ready to cruise into the months of summer. I mean, May is just right around the corner. It's a stone. I can see it from here. It's a stone's throw away. Currently 37 degrees outside here, the Radio Ranch, and we're ready to crank out here on this Monday edition of the program. We're going to be joined here in a minute by Judith Eckert, who is the author of the book, The Pixel Pandemic, and which is going to talk about the effect of the technological revolution on our kids, and what does it mean? It's kind of an interesting discussion, and especially for those of us who were raised right on the beginning of the technological revolution, who were still, I don't know if we would say young and impressionable when the internet started, but it was there. I remember I was talking about buying my first computer, getting internet hooked up at my house for the first time, and everything else. And then look at where we are today. I was just thinking yesterday, we had a problem with our internet for about 2 or 3 minutes yesterday. And I thought, interesting, if we don't have internet for today, I'm going to have a hard time doing the show tomorrow, because not only does the show broadcast on the internet, I connect to all the radio stations via internet, right? I mean, that's how I broadcast. That's how folks in Fairbanks and on the translators and every place else, that's how they're hearing all this information, because the connectivity to the radio stations that are then broadcast over the air, it's all these days, it's all through the internet. And how it's become a very real and connected part of our lives. So anyway, her book, The Pixel Pandemic, is talking about some of the dangers there, and it's pretty interesting stuff. We're going to be continuing to talk with her about that here in just a moment, as she and we're going to get we're getting her to jump on here in just a hot second here to talk about the book. Meanwhile, tomorrow, Brad Keithley will be joining us, as well as Chris Story, the man from Homer. He's going to come on board and talk with us and give us a little bit of a uplift. Wednesday, we're working on another member of the Senate, the House Senate, and we'll see what we'll see what else we can find out. But we're getting down to the final days here. We are. What are we? We're less than 30 days away from the end of the legislative session, 28 days, something like that. And so they've got some time to get some of this happen, to let some of this happen, and to get a fully sussed out budget and get all these things done before the end of the session. But I don't know if they're going to make it. really don't know. I don't know if they're going to make it because time compression is a weapon, baby. Time compression as a weapon. That's what they want to focus on. They want to hold everything hostage till the very end. And again, there's rumors going around that the state Senate may want to put the whole thing together here and do it all themselves. I see Judith Marie is on my phone instead of on my link where it is. Hello, Judith.
I was unable to get onto your link.
Okay, you clicked it and it didn't work, or
I think that my
okay.
The connection in my computer is not allowing it to do that, and I've been working on it.
Okay, all right. Well, let's see if we can bring Judith onto the program here this way, and we'll see if we can get we'll get there. Can you hear me, Judith? Oh, maybe she can hear me, but I can't hear her because this stupid thing is most irritating. All right, Judith, I'm going to call you right back at this number. Okay. Hold the line. We'll try this again. You know, for a high-speed piece of technology, this thing is probably one of the most irritating pieces of equipment that I have in the... Why is that working? That's not what it's supposed to be doing there. Let me see if I can get this squared away with Judith. One more time. All right. It's always good to put all this stuff and have it happen live on the air. You know what I mean? It's what we need to do. All right, there we go. Okay, let's see if we can get Judith back and get this thing working here one more time. That didn't work. I'm going to try one more time. We're going to see if we can get this. Come on. There we go. I don't know why it does this. I don't know why it doesn't. It's always like the second time that it is coming up on. And it didn't work again. All right. Judith, I'm going to try one more time, and then if not, we'll come to a commercial break and we'll fix it during the break here. I'm going to try one more time. We're going to try this one more time because this is ridiculous. This is live radio. What more is a guy supposed to get? Come on, get this thing going on. You got it. You know you got it. You got it. One more time. Come on. And it didn't work. Okay. All right, Judith, give me about 4 minutes and I'm gonna fix this and I'll call you back here in just a second. All right. Sorry about that. Maybe it's the clean living. I don't know why this is not working the way that it is. You know, maybe it's the North Korean technology, the new North Korean surplus technology. Frank just said, I guess that North Korean surplus equipment that you had at KFAR is looking pretty good now, right? Yeah, this is like the one thing that is just so irritating is when you got a great piece of kit and then it doesn't work like half the time, or the first 2 times you try it doesn't work, and then it goes on and on and on. Anyway, it's a frustrating thing. So we're going to talk with Judith Eckert here in just a minute, and we will continue ahead with that. And we're going to talk about the pixel pandemic, which is what's going on in her thoughts. This is one of the big problems with kids and technology today, that basically they're navigating a tech-driven world without a safety net. And it's leaving some deep imprints on their ability to focus, to regulate emotion, to sleep, and to connect meaningfully with others, which I would agree. And I would agree with some of that. I think that, the whole thing of get outside and show how everything works is one of those things. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to see if I can suss this out during the commercial break here, and we'll come back hopefully with Judith Eckert. Lord, ironic that I can't get technology to work during a segment about how bad technology can be, right? I mean, there's some deep irony in that right there. I just want to point that out. All right, we'll continue in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Back with more after this.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show, because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. This stupid thing is irritating me so much right now. Let's see if we can get this. Come on. It's not ringing. Judith, would you do me a favor? Would you call me back on this? I don't know why. For some reason, I'm having a hard time dialing out on this. I don't normally use this way to bring guests on. So,
You bet.
all right, thanks. She's going to try and call me back, and we'll see if we can get this thing working. Freaking freak. All right. Hey, puppy. I got dogs and cats and everything else living together. Mass hysteria. Can you hear me? Oh, for the love of Pete. The love of Pete. I can't get this phone to work here. So do you have a piece of pen and a paper?
Yeah.
Why don't you dial 319 527 3864. We'll see if we can get you on there.
Okay, 319-527. What was the last one?
3864.
3864. Got it. I'll give you a call.
Okay, it'll be about 30 seconds before I have it turned on. So be there about give me a call in 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Bye. I mean, this could be easy or it could not be easy, I guess, is the answer that we've got going on there. Okay. I mean, this would. Thanks so much for calling the Michael Duke Show. Hold on. Okay. All right. So we got that up. We get the web controls up. And we'll see if we can get her on this morning. To discuss this stuff. Oh my gosh. All right. That she's trying to call me again. Hello.
Okay. Are we here?
No, you dialed my cell phone again. You didn't.
Okay.
All right. Bye. All right. She's going to dial the right number. Okay. We'll see where this goes here. Okay. She's going to dial in, and we're going to get her on board here in just a hot second here. Meanwhile, I was not prepared for her to be on the telephone, so I don't have a picture of her or anything else. So we'll go there, and I see that she has now joined entered into the chat. Okay. So let's bring her on over here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. There's a bit of a delay on this, which is why I don't like to use this for interviews. So just be patient with me if we talk over each other. There's a bit of a delay here. So between the two of us. So be patient here. I'm going to put you back on hold just for a second. You'll still hear me, but I won't hear you while I do some little bit of housekeeping here on this stuff. And because I've got to get the information out of the file here. All right. So we got Judith, and we're going to get a picture of her out here so that you guys can see, do all this kind of stuff, what I normally was going to do. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. We're almost on time. We're almost on time here. We're about to jump into this and get this going on. Judith Eckert is our guest, the author of the book, The Pixel Pandemic. And we will get into this here in just a second. And talking, and I can't, you guys know that I suck at multitasking sometimes. So let's just get this going. Here we go. Let's get to it.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going.
Back to the program. It is the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Our guest today is Judith Eckert, who's here to talk about the Pixel Pandemic, which is a new book, subtitled Restoring God's Design for Our Children in a Digital World. And we were just talking a minute ago about how, I was there. I remember I was just newly married when we bought our first PC and the internet came out and everything else. And it was, just one of those things where it was like, wow, the world is about to change. And little did we know how much it was going to change in just a short period of time. Judith Eckert joins us this morning to talk about some of the pitfalls of that movement. And so let's get into it here. She is over on hold right now. Let's bring her up and we'll get started. Good morning, Judith. How are you?
Good morning, Michael. Really well. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on and joining us here this morning. So first and foremost, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, a little bit of your background before we jump into the details of your work here, and what gives you some standing to write a book about the pandemic of technology on our children.
Oh, well, I am a special ed, regular ed teacher. I have worked all over the United States, from the Midwest to inner city. I've worked in the bush. And then most recently, I have been here in Homer. I've also worked in schools that were the #1 schools in the nation and the lowest schools in the nation. And so my perspective is very unique in that way. I also have a Christian perspective, as I'm a Christian writer as well. And my concern is not only for our students, but as academically and socially, but the whole child, which is spiritually. And so using the time that I've had in the last a year and a half, I've been able to, again, I've had the time to kind of be the dot connector research regarding brain balance. And so when we learned about brain balance and the actual neurodiverse issues that occur from pixelation and the dopamine loop, just the screens, was through Danae Haley. And she actually had a brain balance center in the lower 48, which was part of a Harvard Cambridge study.
Right.
Where the kids that she saw that had ADHD and other brain balance centers in the United States were dealing with these issues, these issues that are neuro issues, and were able to help 500 kids and help them, and not completely cure, but help them with ADHD. So a lot of the kids were completely cured from ADHD, which is directly related to pixelation and also the dopamine loop that is caused by the pixels, just the pixels on the computers. And that's every screen. It's not just
Right.
the cell phone, it's their tablet, it's also just the computer screens.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But
Anything with a
also,
screen.
too,
Right.
the algorithm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The algorithms that cause attention deficits. And so we've got kids now that are up to 4 to 8 seconds in their attention span.
Right.
And it's incredible to have witnessed this, but the people that have connected with me, actually, I believe is just been incredible and divinely appointed. And those connections have been in Homer, and to kind
Surprise,
of figure
surprise.
out what's going on.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Homer is the center of the universe. People didn't know that until now. Look, this has been concerning for a lot of people for a long time. We've seen a lot of different writings and a lot of different studies on this kind of stuff when it comes down to it. But there's obviously something to it. Okay, there's something to some of the issues with, the attention deficit, like you said, the need, the dopamine hit. We know that's how social media and their algorithms work, is that everybody's looking for a little bit of a like, everybody's looking for a little bit of a something or other. And so we know there are some problems in all this. What initially, I mean, obviously as a special education teacher, you have a passion for kids. So what did you knew that this is something you had to write about? This is something that you had to come out there and say something about?
Yeah, and in fact, it was because my story actually is every educator's story. We saw a change about 2007, 2008, which happens to coincide with the beginning of the smartphone. And behaviors, dysregulation, emotional dysregulation, difficulty focusing. And then it hit a tipping point in 2020. And I have to say, we all have our own case study. Everybody does. This is not the elephant in the center of the classroom. It's the elephant in the center of the earth. And so, but nobody was talking about it. And so not only emotional dysregulation and there's chronic sleep issues, relationship detachments, and spiritual confusion. Honestly, kids they've got Instagram on their brain and they're not even able to pray. I've
Right.
had kids tell me that too. So yeah, so it's something that everybody has been watching. But honestly, this is two things. For teachers, for educators in general, parents, students, we have not had the time. I had the time to connect the dots. We've all seen it, but nobody's had the time to find out what was really happening. And so that's what I did. I took the time and I did the research to find out exactly where to begin with the experts. And actually it was on, I'm not even sure if it was your radio program, a parent talking. I was sitting in the parking lot at the post office here in Homer, and I was listening to a mom talk about glow kids, and that sparked an interest. And then I met Danae Haley, who has Bright Minds Alaska, where she works with kids for digital detox. And then I went from there, and then I met Rebecca Jackson, who does all the trainings for brain balance centers nationwide. They have brain balance in every state but Alaska and Hawaii. Imagine that.
So tell me a little bit about how like I said, this dopamine hit, this kind of, I mean, in a lot of ways, the use of both technology and social media in some studies have shown that it mimics kind of that drug hit, right? That high that we're always chasing the next, we're always chasing the next like or the next thumbs up or the next great thing. I mean, we call it, in my house, I call it doom scrolling, right? Where you're doom scrolling through the whole thing. But tell me a little bit about how some of that mimics some of the same behavior we see in other forms of addiction.
Okay, so let's first, go ahead and describe exactly the dopamine loop, okay? And that is, dopamine is that pleasure center of your brain. So if you're outside and you're fishing, or you're having fun with family, you're doing real life activities, we get natural dopamine hits, right? But what happens with the algorithms, even on ed tech algorithm games, okay, those games that they have the kids figure out their levels of reading or writing,
right,
and also of course on social media,
useful games, right? Those are called useful games, right? These are the safe ones, these are for educational purposes,
right? And so at this point, I have to say the tech companies never warned the educators or the parents or the students. There's no warnings about this. And so this is new information for your listeners. But what they need to understand is that what this does, this dopamine loop, it takes that pleasure center of the brain, and with quick intervals, it trains the child's brain to want that dopamine hit. And they're not going to get it from just natural sources the way they get it from the computer. So it's training their brain to be addicted to their computer. But if they can't get that from their computer any longer, and they're certainly not going to get it going fishing, it actually sets up their brain to have propensity for alcohol and drug addiction.
And this again goes also back to that immediacy, right? I mean, this is the rush of this has kind of been our complaint about the consumable society. There's no delayed gratification. It's all now, right? In a fishing, and if you're going fishing, when you catch the fish, you clean the fish, you eat the fish, there's some delayed gratification. If you go out and go hiking or you build something, there's a delivery at the end of that satisfaction of knowing I did it, I accomplished it, I got, I built my thing, or I did my hike and I'm standing on the mountain or whatever else it is. But for a lot of these kids, it's like immediacy, because that's what the screen delivers to them, is that immediacy.
Correct. And then we have to stop at this point and tell parents, because my job is to give parents tools, okay, and hope. And so the most important thing to remember at this point in this part of the conversation is your child's brain is placid. It's developing until age 26. So the fix is really quick but it's not easy. It's simple. You get them off the computer, hands-on learning, and get them outside. Pixels are lights. In Alaska, the kids are more at risk for depression, anxiety. These pixels affect them hormonally also. So the most important thing to remember is we have the tools to fix this. And we need to take the initiative. And Homer's already doing this.
So
West Homer Elementary, they're already looking at this and making sure that they're using healthy, habits.
Right,
so
right.
Ed Tech Health.
Well, and so let's talk about that, because
yeah.
let's talk about that for a second, because I think Anthony in the chat room says he says he thinks it's not a technology problem, it's bad parenting using technology to raise their kids, which I think is also a huge component of this. We talk about education in any form, whether it's this digital stuff or whether it's just educational outcomes. The parental involvement is key, right? And so there is a component of this
Right.
that has to do with, you can't just park your kids, and we used to call it the babysitter, right? The television, they used to jokingly call it the babysitter, but now it's the tablet or the phone or the Xbox or whatever it is. So there's a component of the parenting that has to be involved in this as well. But what is the school system? And you said specifically here in Homer, what is the school system doing that's different here in Homer that could be adopted in other places?
Okay, so I know specifically Fireweed, West Homer Elementary, and then also McNeil Canyon. They're paying attention to this, so they're limiting screen time. And before we get into the different stages and how parents can help, I want to give you guys a little bit of something to hold on to, okay? And this is really important. It's the 20-20-20 rule, okay? Now, initially that was about after 20 minutes being on a screen to actually look at the issues concerning your vision. So myopathy, and I forget the other name. I have to look it up real quick. My daughter has it from being on the screen. Even adults get it, but diplopia or something like that. But that affects your eyes, okay? So 20 seconds of looking 20 feet away, looking down like 5 different times before you go back on the screen. Okay, again, this is neuro. And if parents understood that, this would change parent behavior. I've already seen that. Now, the thing that is important to understand about this 20-20-20 within the classroom and at home, if they're homeschooling, is 20 minutes on, maybe twice a week, one 20-minute session for their lessons for math or language arts. Then 20 minutes hands-on learning, and then 20 minutes either inside or outside of the house, brain balance protocols, movement to bring that brain balance back. And the thing is, this has all been proven through many studies. But again, these studies have not, I'm the dot connector on this one, and that's why I have my website, pixelpandemic.org, is kind of a one-stop shop for parents, so they can get connected to the experts that can tell them exactly why they need to make sure they're looking after their child's brain balance. But going straight into each stage, if I may, and we're talking parenting now, okay?
Right.
We are on the second generation of this. It has become a cultural norm. And parents have to ask themselves, am I raising my child, or is the internet? There's even songs that kids that are in their 20s now joke about. They have, the internet raised me. You have to make that decision. But with this information I'm about to give you, if you have a newborn, do not let them near that light. And when you're holding your baby, You hold your baby, and that cell phone should be parked far away from you. And the reason why, it's not only the light that can affect their brain function and their development, but also when you're looking at your phone, you're not mirroring. You're not looking at your child, and you are actually you're not mirroring. Okay.
Right. All right. Hold the line for a second here,
Okay.
Judith. Judith Eckert is our guest. She's the author of the book, The Pixel Pandemic. You can find it on Amazon. Again, pixelpandemic.org is her website. We're going to continue with her here in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show continues right here. We'll be back right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the commercial break right now. We're getting ready to continue ahead. I'll go through some of the comments and questions in the chat room here, which is ironic that we're using technology it's ironic that somebody mentioned earlier. It's ironic you're having a show about how bad technology can be, and yet you're having technological problems. Yeah, I know. It's one of those things. What are you going to do? Let me go over here and kill that. All right, let me go over here to some of the comments here, and I'll bring Judith back here. She's waiting for us here. It said, David says, every child that appears to be ADD or ADHD should have a double-blind study done before any medication is offered. Teachers sometimes diagnose it. I agree with that. People ask the question, I mean, when it's 40 below, how do you encourage the kids to get outside? I mean, my kids, again, we spent most of our time in Fairbanks, and yeah, when they were young, it's hard to get kids outside, Judith, at 40, 30, 40 below, 50 below sometimes in the winter. In the summer, it was always easy because they were always outside doing whatever. But in the winter, especially, that makes it harder. What's your suggestion there?
Well, my suggestion is, number one, this is a unique Alaskan issue. What kind of lights are we using in our homes, in our classrooms? Are they those, I think it's like a neon, and the bulbs, I'm trying to think of the name of them, but they're not natural lighting.
The fluorescence you're talking about?
Yeah, the fluorescence, that's it. So basically, the first thing we can do, they can have those brain balance movements they can use, and that's where Danae Haley is the number one person to talk to in regards to that. And we're actually putting together curriculum for Revive Academy that includes that in the protocols during the kids' day. And this is really important for going forward. But also in Alaska, the lighting, not only did they put the kids on computers in 2020, they put them on computers for after school programs, and they could have been outside. So when they can't, when it's dark, they're called SAD lights, right? Seasonal affective disorder lighting.
Right. It's full spectrum. Full spectrum lighting.
Strategically put those in classrooms.
Yeah, well, I mean,
schools,
it's something we did in Fairbanks for all of our lights in the house, was because my wife she's really affected by the lack of light. And so we did have full spectrum lighting, and it does help. But again, it becomes difficult when, and somebody just said, well, it's 40 below, you send them outside to go snow machining, ice fishing. I mean, yeah, but it's a limited amount of time that you can go outside at 40 below and do something fun and exciting.
Right.
And so it becomes more difficult. I think the bigger choice, and I think Miguel said something about it, there should be no screens in the rooms, right? Like none of my kids had TVs in their rooms. There was no TVs,
Right.
there was no computers in their rooms, no tablets, no whatever. If they wanted to use a computer, it had to be downstairs, in the living room where everybody was around and everything else. And so it was the ability to self-regulate and limit that kind of stuff. But as technology has progressed, now it's gotten smaller and smaller, and now it's tablets or phones or et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, again, this comes back to parenting and doing this the right way in a lot of respects, correct?
Right. And so the other thing to remember is within the just making sure that not only we have the correct lighting, but we're able to have the pixels, right, that are the lights that are on the screens. We need to have a family plan, protocol. Park those computers at the front door. And then when you're doing homework on the computer, make it interactive at the kitchen table with the parent. And then also specifically have a family plan that there are no screens in the bedroom. Usually they have their laptop, they might have their iPad and their cell phone all at the same time. And what happens is if they have that blue light anywhere in their bedroom, it will affect their sleeping patterns. So that also affects their mood, okay? And then again, explaining how this affects them will help parents and the kids. Once you tell a group of third graders how those screens affect them,
yeah,
they're like, oh.
All right, hold on. We're about to jump. The ding means good. We're about to rejoin. So hold on. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show.
Okay.
The Michael Duke Show, proudly splitting the left versus right dichotomy. Yeah, I had to look that word up too. I don't think it means what he thinks it means. Here he is, though. That guy, Michael Dukes, the one with the show.
All right, we're continuing here, talking with Judith Eckert, author of The Pixel Pandemic. And we're talking about how screens and screen use, technology, which has got a lot of far-reaching implications. I mean, there's a lot of good to it, but there could also be a lot of bad. And this is, she's talking in this case about some of the things that are tough about this technology. And of course, we pointed out that the parenting aspect of it is important. You got to have proper parenting. You as a parent have to take control, which sometimes can be tough. I know some parents are a little softer than others and they want to get it. But the bottom line is that teaching kids to cope with real world issues, to socialize, to actually get outside, to meet other people face to face, can be challenging in this day and age because their entire world experience has been filtered through the screens of their devices. We're talking about the Pixel Pandemic. And so you have a solution for this. You were just talking about it during the break, an actual action plan. So again, go through it. What is the action plan for people who want to prevent their children from being affected by this in the long term? What do they have to do, Judith, to what should the plan look like in your mind for parents and people wanting to protect their children from this problem?
Well, the simplest thing is to have a family plan. And first of all, when you explain to your kids and your spouse exactly what happens when their brains interact with the pixels, just the lights themselves, then everybody can come together and create a plan for healthy digital health, right? So basically, the number one thing is to remember that computers and iPads, those are tools. They're not a teacher and they're not a parent. And so we need to make sure that we understand that, okay? And that we don't use them it's actually neglect. And again, like I said, with the newborns, when you're looking at your phone holding your baby at a cellular level can feel that. And they know that you're not looking at them. And so you're creating PTSD at a cellular level. That their ACE scores, and we can go off on that, but getting back to the family, and that would be part of the family plan, is have a place parking all of the digital devices, phones, iPads, computers, either at the front door, okay, or a center place in the house where it's just, you park them there. And then when you need to use them, i.e. for homework or whatever, you are with your child interacting with them with that online program or whatever you're doing. Immediately afterwards, they know that they need to do some kind of a hands-on learning. And then after that, then they can go outside or in the house. Again, we talked about the lighting. The lighting needs to be addressed in Alaska, in the home and in the schools. But a brain balance protocol, it could be as simple as, moms will love this, certain chores, vacuuming, doing certain things, movements, cleaning, any of these things that also at the same time you get cross the midline. And most parents know about, brainer size at school, these kind of things. This is what I'm talking about. And then also too, no digital products in the bedroom.
Right.
Because it will mess up not only the circadian rhythm and sleep deprivation, but cortisol levels. And then this is where I need to explain exactly what happens through brain imbalance. So the left side of the brain, and we all have our own case study. The left side of the brain, aggression and depression strengthens. The right side diminishes. Critical thinking, imagination, motivation, intrapersonal communication, which also affects prayer and reading comprehension. Our relationships, interpersonal communication, and also emotions, feelings get diminished just from the brain imbalance that occurs not only with the pixels, but the algorithms, even in the gaming algorithms of EdTech games, through the dopamine loop.
It's, the thing is, and this is what my conundrum is with this whole thing, Judith, is that, the technology suffuses everything that we do all day. I mean, I'm sitting in front of 5 screens right now, right? When you're working, you're sitting in front of a screen. I mean, most jobs require at some point or another that you have to be able to interact with that technology. And this again goes back to just, using the technology, but not being ruled by the technology is what I kind of, when my wife and I talked about this early on with our kids, is we made the decisions not to allow them to have screens in their rooms and some of these other things. But again, we also homeschooled. And so a lot of their schooling was done on computers and things like that. The technology itself is not the problem. Again, I think it comes back to people abrogating their responsibilities as parents in controlling the amount of screen time and the amount of interaction that they have with the computers or the internet or anything else. I mean, this is a multi-layer issue, but I think it falls back to the parents.
Well, you're correct, but I would like to add to that. A lot of the parents, okay, again, we're on second generation of this, right? It's become part of our culture, and they're not aware, and they have not been given warnings. There should be, okay, the should factor, right? there should be warnings on all these products by the tech companies. There should be every computer should have a filter from that blue light. And we're talking, these are OSHA issues, okay? And also time. There's like apps and things that that are even available right now that not all the computers have these on them, but there's like little timeouts, a red flag that comes up. Okay, it's time to take a break.
Right.
They don't have those. And this is, again, like I said, it's not, it's the elephant in the center of the earth. That's what this is.
All right.
It's every human being on the.
I'm sorry. I apologize to interrupt you. We're coming down to the last couple minutes here. So I want
the most important thing to remember is the technology is a tool.
Right.
And that how it affects your child is your responsibility. Are we going to wait on the government? Obviously not.
No, it has to be. It has to be personal responsibility, and that's what I'm getting back to on this, is that we as parents have to be able to, make those decisions, and it's on us to do it. We're down to the last 90 seconds here or so, Judith. So, folks want to find out more about this. Do your website? Do you have any YouTube videos or anything else? Where do they go to find out more information about you, the book, the whole thing, all that? Give us your thoughts here.
Okay, so it's pixelpandemic.org is the website. I'm on all, the social media as well, Facebook, Instagram. Also, the book right now is on Amazon pre-order. It's coming out the 29th of this month, so 29th of April. And it's will also be an audiobook, Kindle, and then hard copies. I also am putting together different workshops for parents and then also for churches, just to remember that, we need to focus on our children and who God designed them to be, not the internet.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. We're out of time. I was going to say one more question, but we're out of time. All right, Judith, thank you so much for being part of it today. We appreciate you. Hold the line for just a second. Folks, we will be back again tomorrow. Again, if you want to find out more about Judith, pixelpandemic.org, pixelpandemic.org, Judith Eckert. Tomorrow, Chris Story, Brad Keithley, The Michael Duke Show. We'll see you then. Rick has asked this question a couple times, Judith, so I'll ask it because he's been persistent about it. Is this problem more prominent in boys or girls, males or females, in the studies that you're talking about?
Not sure if you can hear me, but I really am thankful.
I can hear you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. I had myself muted there for a second. Rick has been asking this question, and since he was so persistent about it, I thought I would ask it again. Is this problem with the pixels and the brain issues and the chemistry and is it more prominent between boys or girls? Just a quick question.
Okay. The only evidence we have hormonally, girls, CDC, I think it was like 25% of all girls during 2020 when it hit a tipping point because of the interaction with hormones were either suicidal or had thoughts of suicide.
So you're saying it's affecting females more than it is boys?
I'm not sure because, again, that's the only study that I know of that CDC directly addresses that. But you have to understand it's child by child also, and it's neurological. So if a child has neurodiverse issues, autism, dyslexia, or even ADHD, it will exacerbate the issue. It doesn't help them heal. They should not be in front of screens.
All right. Well, Judith, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming on board and joining us today. I appreciate it. And hopefully folks will go out there and take a look at this and read for themselves and make their own decisions on it. But again, My feeling on this whole thing is that it's the lack of parenting that's the major contributor to this problem. Technology in and of itself is useful, but you can't use it to substitute for good parenting in that regard. That's my biggest thing. I get irritated when
Absolutely.
I see people hand their 5-year-old a tablet and like, go play by yourself. That's just irritating to me. But anyway, all right, Judith. Well, thank you so much for coming on board. We appreciate you being part of it today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Judith Eckert, again, you can find her at pixelpandemic.org. Okay, that's it for today. I'm done. We said enough. I don't think digital is bad. I think the lack of parenting is a major contributor. And it's the easy road, right? It's the easy road for all this stuff. Anyway, that's just me. I don't think it's bad to hold your baby and be on your phone, but don't do it all the time. I mean, again, anyway. We gotta go. Appreciate you guys being part of it today. We will see you tomorrow. Be kind, love one another, live well. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.